When we talk about racing, it's the same adage that exists in life, and that is that good things come to those who wait. We've had to wait about a couple of months to be able to have our makeup race from Nashville, but from Nashville, from the Music City, we move back up to the Circle City, and we get a triple helping of racing from the racing capital of the world for the Toyota GR Cup North American Series. My name is DJ Clark, joined up in the commentary booth alongside Kyle Heyer. And Kyle, while it's disappointing the fact that we didn't get to run 2 street races in Nashville, it's still pretty special that we get to run 3 here at one of the greatest racetracks in all of the world.
No one has to tell you why this place is special. It just is. It carries with it over a century of racing history. And now we're going to add to Toyota's history here in North America with the first running of Toyota GR Cup North America. As you mentioned, a triple helping of racing here this weekend. That means 1 extra for the fans and for the drivers.
Very much so. And what's going to be particularly interesting about this race, I think, is the fact that it is a makeup race. And so drivers that were particularly strong on the streets of Nashville may be a little bit not as strong here around a perfect purpose-built road course such as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, most of our title contenders, our title victor here at this point, Tyler Gonzalez, finds himself on pole position, and most of the drivers that we are used to seeing up at the top are up in that category, but I have my eyes drawn to names like Adam Eisman, Tommy McCarthy that find themselves up in the top 10, did a great job in qualifying in Nashville. Are they going to be able to repeat that performance here around this nearly 2.5-mile road course?
Yeah, certainly if you're comfortable on a street course and you have the precision that it requires to keep it between the fence there, that skill level isn't going to quite benefit you as much here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is a very technical racetrack, but not in the same way that Nashville is. There's a lot of walls at Nashville. You're very close to them for most of the lap, but here it's about getting power down, braking late, and managing the curbing with these cars that's going to find you an advantage at this racetrack. You can be really aggressive here, and there's not quite the penalty that Nashville would have carried, but you can certainly still get yourself in trouble.
Well, when we talk about what is particularly crucial here at this racetrack, it is momentum, momentum, momentum. I'm talking particularly coming out of turn 4 and coming down through turn 14. Those are the main areas where you really have to carry that speed because they lead on to the long straightaways around this circuit and down into those heavy braking zones that you talked about that present the chief ability to make an overtake.
Yeah, your main passing opportunities are into turn 1, as you mentioned, into turn 12, and into turn 7. Those are really the heaviest braking zones here. And the problem is if you make a pass here or you fail to complete a pass, you're going to be vulnerable on the next straightaway because you're going to use up all your momentum and slide wide on exit and leave yourself vulnerable. You got about 230 horsepower to use in these cars, DJ, but again, it's about carrying speed, and with such stop-starty nature at those corners I mentioned previously, carrying speed is going to be a big challenge.
Yeah, carrying speed is going to be particularly difficult, and because of the nature of this track, as you said, you're not only going to lose momentum if you don't set yourself up well for that corner, you could also find yourself on a little bit of an opposite line as the track really goes back and forth and back and forth. So one corner leading into the other, you may have an advantage going into turn 1, for example, but you're not going to have that advantage coming through turn 2. So you almost have to be thinking 3, 4 corners ahead when you set yourself up for a move around here.
Yeah, and certainly one of the other topics of discussion before we get into this race is at Sebring a couple of weeks ago, we had a pretty major accident involving Lucas Weisenberg and Spike Kolbacher, and this would have been a huge deal if they couldn't get their cars repaired because this race was supposed to happen earlier in the season. So they're going to both get a chance to kind of reset their points numbers here a little bit because they were able to rewind the clock and put their cars back on course at a race that would have happened before their cars were crashed in the first place. So a little bit of time dilation here happening to get cars back on track, but really good to see those teams get the vehicles back on course and ready to compete here at Indy.
Very much so. Also good to see Jackson Bell there in the number 2 machine for Precision Racing LA. He finds himself in 5th place. I believe that's Jackson's best qualifying effort of the season, and a little bit unfortunate for him when we talk about Sebring, when we talk about the latter stages of Road America. He was on a great upward trajectory, just continuing to do better and better and better, get higher and higher scoring positions. Didn't have the best run in Sebring. He's going to be looking to bounce back here, and I think a 5th place starting position is certainly a great way to do that.
Well, he's got so much aggression, and he showed that at Sebring, and it paid off for him in race 1. In race 2, it kind of caught him out a little bit, got involved in a couple of incidents. So starting in row number 3, that aggression is going to pay off down at turn number 1, provided they can get through the first sector without contact. But Jackson Bell, absolutely a favorite in this race. So is Aiden Yoder. Spike Kohlbecker, of course, you can't count out. And of course, Tyler Gonzalez, your champion of the season already. He'll start on that front row. And then Will Rogers in that number 6 Godwin Motorsports car. Is it his time to shine here, DJ? He's starting up on that front row. I think he's absolutely got a shot at taking a win here today.
Yeah, I think he does as well. And one thing to remember here, for the record, we do not have one of the drivers that is competing for the second place with Spike Kohlbecker in the championship right now for this round only. That is Gresham Wagner. Gresham was not present in Nashville, so that means that Gresham will not be out on the track for this race, but he will be out on track for Indy Race 1 and Indy Race 2, and that's going to be a very, very close championship battle for second between himself and Tech Sport Racing Spike Kohlbecker.
Engines sound like they're getting fired up here. Flat 4 engines for these Toyota GR Cup North America vehicles. The GR86 about to roll off. A field of about 30 cars taking the green flag here today, DJ, for a 45-minute race. And this is going to be a fun one to watch. I can't wait. This run to turn 1 is always exciting with that huge pinch point at the first corner.
Yeah, huge pinch point going down to the first corner. And of course, the rules given down by SRO that we have to keep in mind here. You can start to accelerate as soon as you see the green, but you are not able to move out of your column until you cross over the start-finish line.
Yeah, that caught some people out at Sebring in all the SRO America series, so that's something to consider. You got to stay in your column, got to stay in line. On the restarts, though, if we were to get one, as soon as that green flag flies, you can resume racing and resume passing.
Yeah, so that's how that is going to break down for folks watching here at home, or indeed joining us here live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As you said earlier, Kyle, cars making their way out of pit lane. We'll have one pace lap here to get everything up to speed, and tire temperature going to be very, very crucial. It's a bit chilly outside right now, so I got to think a lot of these drivers are going to be doing some weaving, some accelerating and braking on this opening lap to make sure that those tires are up to temperature.
You're going to spend a lot of time building temperature in these Continental tires here on this pace lap, and even on the opening lap, we saw at Sebring some drivers weaving down the front straightaway just to build that temperature. As we watch cars leave the pits, they're goosing the throttle a little bit, watching the car slide. Let's also consider that it's early in the morning. The off-track areas are still very damp. The grass is damp as well. So if you don't keep it on the black stuff, and by the way, look at turn 6 here, DJ. Look at all the gravel that's offline through turn 5 and 6 at the chicane. If you get into that, you're going to go for a ride. So you have to be precise the first time through, and better not be side by side.
And I'm actually just getting a note here that Gresham Wagner is out on track. He is a part of this race. He will be starting in last place here at this point. So that's going to be a storyline to follow. Gresham starting all the way at the back of the field. It's going to be a lot of fun to see him charge up through it. We saw him do it at Sonoma. We've seen him be able to climb his way through the field at multiple opportunities this season. So keep an eye on that white and red number 5 machine. Gresham's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch.
It's almost like a personal challenge. How many cars can you pass in one race? And he's had the chance to do it a couple of times this season. He's so much fun to watch pass cars, especially into that first corner. But again, I'm watching this pace lap, how much sliding around they're doing. The track and the tire looks pretty low grip at the moment, but get a little bit of heat into it, I think we're going to have a very exciting race. But certainly the first corner, the first couple of turns, as we get used to race pace here, it's going to be treacherous, and we'll see how it goes. You can get about 2 wide down there at the apex of 1. Any more than that, you're going to run into problems.
Yeah, you can run 3 or 4 wide coming down the straightaway, but once you get into that braking zone, things get a little bit hairy. But it looks like here cars are going double file. We're about ready to get going, Kyle.
Yeah, doubling up, and this is a 45-minute race here with a 30-car field in Toyota GR Cup North America, the third to last race of the season, DJ, and they approach that yard of bricks.
They work their way into the VEP acceleration zone here at this point. Tyler Gonzalez, Will Rogers waiting to get the signal from Tom Hansing as there goes the green, and we are racing in Indianapolis. It's a good getaway from Tyler Gonzalez. It looks pretty neat and orderly through the rest of the field. A little bit of 3 wide farther back. Gresham Wagner not able to get the best run necessarily. It looks like, though, that's going to be Kohlbecker moving his way up into second position. Jackson Bell challenging for third.
Oh, big lunge up the inside. We're 4-5 wide into the first turn, but so far, no. The 76 of Clemens spins right in front of the field. Kemper has to stop to avoid running into him. 1 car spins around. Everyone else manages to miss.
And it looks like Kemper there's going to be able to get the car going. Clemens not so sure if he is going to be able to go. Farther back in the field, that's the number 28 machine there of Justin Piscatell. Slices slicing and dicing with the 23 as well. They try to get themselves onto the back straightaway now, down Holman Way. Let's see if anybody's brave enough to make a move one way into 7.
All right, so one car went for a slide. We almost got through there without incident, but Tyler Gonzalez weaving down the back straightaway to get some temperature in those Continentals. Now into turn 7, filtering through single file, but the safety car looks like it has been deployed. Yes, we have a full course yellow, DJ. I can't, well, there's the answer, the 37.
Yeah, that's the 37 machine there at that point from Precision Racing LA. Spencer Schmidt stalled out there on the track. Not entirely sure what happened to him necessarily, as it looks like Stephen Clemens has been able to get back and going. So we'll see if we can maybe get a replay there of the 37 and find out exactly what brought out this first safety car period of our race.
Yeah, the first corner here is pretty chaotic. It always is, and you just because the straightaway is so wide and the corner is not, so you have to filter them out, and we almost got away with it. But of course, we saw Clemens get spun around. Drake Kemper had to stop. See if we can find out where Spencer Schmidt was. So he was towards the back of the pack in the left lane behind the blue car there, Tony Breidinger, and see how he filters into this on the outside of about 4 wide.
Yeah, this going in there, you can see in the middle of the track there, that pink and black machine, just a little bit of contact there with the 69 of, I believe that is Adam Eisman, and that's what spun Spencer Clemens around. A lot of drivers having to go through the grass, including Breidinger, looks like Garcia there as well, just trying to avoid. I wonder if maybe there we saw that machine get a little bit too much grass underneath it, maybe just kind of clip a curb or something like that.
Well, what I saw in the background was he had to run wide to miss all the carnage on the inside, and he ran through the grass and just spun out and couldn't get rolling again. And I mentioned right before we went green that the off-track areas are very wet, the grass and the mud, and it rained really heavily here yesterday. So I just think he got in there, the tires couldn't grab purchase on the grass to get him moving. So it should be a pretty quick extraction, and we should be back underway here fairly shortly. But that's the treacherousness of this racetrack, is if you get offline, get into the grass, it can be a challenge to get moving again. That is the number 11 of Farron Davis with some damage to the, I guess, it's really just a superficial piece of body work. I don't think it'll cause him any strife, but race control may ask that they head down pit lane to have that removed.
Yeah, that could be a little bit of a problem there for the car necessarily. Not a problem for the car, but a problem for the series if that were to fall off. It does look like here, though, that lights are out on the Toyota GR86 safety car, so we're going to get back to green flag conditions. And important to remember here, Kyle, that the acceleration zone off a restart different from the acceleration zone off of the initial start here at the race. They're going to be able to get going a little bit faster, a little bit earlier.
Yeah, the initial start zone is as the field comes onto the flat front straightaway, fairly close to the start line. The acceleration zone is actually in turn 14, that last turn before you get back to the front stretch. The difference is the leader can accelerate there, but racing may not resume until the green flag flies. And basically the goal there is to stretch the field out so you don't have any bunching up. The leader can go, but no one can pass until the green flag waves.
Exactly. Also getting a message from race control that that incident at turn 1 is under review. So they're going to take a look at that and decide if any penalties need to be levied as a result of that contact that spun Stephen Clemens around.
Yeah, it's like figuring out which kid in the ball pit hit your kid, right? There's so many people in there, you can't figure out which one started it, and I think everyone will likely disagree. It looks like Mark Pombo's on pit lane as well in the number 10, and some damage to the front bumper assembly of that car.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a little bit of that scuffle that we saw coming through turn number 1. Ooh, Gonzalez there playing a little bit of stack up. I think there actually may have been some contact. I see some debris going, but it looks like Gonzalez is now back on the loud pedal as we get back under racing conditions, and the green flag flies once again here at Indianapolis. Gonzalez has about a 2-car length lead, a good breakaway there for him. Spike Kohlbecker and Will Rogers. Jackson Bell holding on to P2. Kohlbecker took a look down to the inside of Gonzalez. Is he going to go for it? No, he's going to hold off, but we've got a little bit of a stack up farther back in the field.
Is that the open road racing car? Is that Eisman up the inside? Late on the brakes, though, is Wettingel into turn 1. That doesn't work, but they managed to make it. There's Gresham Wagner now sneaking through on the inside, following the 44. Jones and Weisenberg's turned around at turn 2.
Yeah, and I heard a little bit of a punch there. I think that may have been some contact. Thankfully, that machine's going to keep going as the 68 there. That is going to be Mia Lovell fighting, working her way forward here at this point. She's had a great opening lap. Oh, as Jones takes a big ride over the curbs.
Yeah, Derek Jones cut turn 6 there. If you don't gain an advantage, that's okay, but you have to try to keep all 4 tires to the left of that blue and white curbing. Paul Bocuse has some damage on the right front. Very similar to what we saw at Sebring with that same piece of bodywork hanging off the right front of that car. But filtering through 7, a little bit more contact there with the 80 of Wettingel and the 8 car. They sneak on through. That's
it's Corey Lewis.
I wasn't sure if he was in this race versus the races that were here for Indianapolis, but good to see some star power from some GT racing ranks joining us here in Toyota GR Cup North America.
As we watch Gresham Wagner sending a big move down to the inside of turn 10 and 11, and it looks like Farron Davis has been turned around on the infield section here at the moment. However, that RVA graphics by Speed Syndicate car will be able to get back and going, so we'll be able to stay under green flag conditions. Back to that battle, it looks like Gresham Wagner's been able to propel himself forward, getting past Mia Lovell here at this point, and that is just going to continue that charge here for Gresham.
Gonzalez leads the way, then Spike Kohlbecker, Will Rogers, Jackson Bell, and Aiden Yoder, your top 5. Then Piscatel, Kanan O'Connell, excuse me, Tommy McCarthy, Jordan Segrini, and Gresham Wagner, the rest of your top 10. How about Gresham Wagner up to 10th place after only a handful of laps here at Indianapolis? Pretty impressive.
If you want a statement of intent from that Tech Sport Racing driver, you certainly have it, as it does look like also here at this point that we talked about that breakaway with Gonzalez, Kohlbecker, and Rogers up at the front of the field. Jackson Bell and Aiden Yoder have been able to close that back down yet again, and now it looks like the breakaway is between Yoder and Piscatel. There's about 10 to 15 car lengths in between them as the top 5 run pretty close together.
Yeah, now that you're strung out a bit, you can focus on tackling individual cars rather than groups of cars, but we've still got a little side-by-side back here between Segrini and the number 18, a new livery on board the car here this week as he sweeps around the outside of the 23 of Tommy McCarthy. Big piece of debris through turn number 8, I believe, and that is the side skirt from that number 11 Davis car.
Yeah, that came off there at this point. Looks like here at this point, though, with Segrini under a lot of pressure, so much pressure that his hazards are on, is now Wagner's going to make his way back up through the field past the number 23 of Tommy McCarthy. A pretty easy move there coming out of turn 11. It looks like Gresham really has that corner figured out. That's the second pass we've seen him make through 10 and 11 in that many laps.
Yeah, getting power down there is pretty critical, and you're unwinding the wheel to get yourself set up for turn number 12. And if you can get the power down and get to someone's inside, it's a great opportunity to sneak by. And Wagner's going to put pressure now on Jordan Segrini up inside the top 10. Just a really impressive drive by the number 5 of Wagner. Maybe not surprising given how his season has gone, but Jordan Segrini, what an outstanding talent he has been in only a couple of rounds. He joined late in the season. Nashville Race 1 was his first event. He's just been very, very impressive, including a podium back at Sebring.
Yeah, and a podium sitter over the course of this year, Aiden Yoder, trying to think about maybe a move there on Jackson Bell going down into turn 1, but thought better of it. Aiden's had a little bit of a yo-yo season, sort of up and down through the order, not necessarily solidifying himself in the top 10s necessarily. We've seen him fall down a little bit more than that at certain rounds, looking very strong here today, and I like that heads up. He didn't quite have the overspeed to get that pass on Jackson Bell, decided to back off and wait.
Hey, given how slippery it's been here so far today, I wonder if these low grip conditions are what Yoder really excels at. Think all the way back to Circuit of the Americas earlier in the year. That was the one race that we really had some wet weather, and he was exceptional in that race. So maybe the low grip conditions suit Yoder well. He's running very impressively now, as Wagner has already passed Kanan O'Connell now for, I believe that's now 7th place.
He just keeps moving on up. And yeah, we should bring attention to the fact that we did have some pretty substantial rain here over the course of yesterday and last night that really kind of reset this racing surface. Drivers also weren't really able to go out and get all that much practice time because of the rainy conditions. Spoke to a number of drivers that they said, you know what, this isn't really representative of what we're going to be running tomorrow, so we don't want to risk the car. So for a lot of these drivers, they're headed out onto this nearly 2.5 mile circuit really for the first time in anger.
And a lot of the drivers in this series have never been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is where you rely on your sim experience to know where the corners are, how late you can break into the corners. That's something that you don't really want to learn in a race condition. So yesterday, you're right, they didn't get a lot of dry running, if any. So they went out on track when it was slippery and slidey. And while it's not much better today, there's not standing water and puddles to have to avoid. So keep that in mind as drivers navigate here. This is their first time, their first race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for many of them.
Oh, good battle here farther back in the field. That's Austin Dodge and Mia Lovell almost rubbing doors with each other. Right now, up ahead of them, that's going to be Jones.
Oh.
And it looks like the number 8 machine there of Corey Heim making up some good moves. And Lovell getting her nose in there, almost making contact. I think she did actually make contact.
So she got punted by Adam Eisman there, but she was able to cling to it. I think she turned in to make the apex fairly late, and Eisman already had the nose inside, so there was some contact, but they were able to hang on. O'Connell and Segrini battling for position, as is this group. Wettengel late on the brakes, cheats over, and knocks into the 16th place number 31 of Austin Dodge. He just kept moving right. I don't know that he knew that the 31 was there, DJ.
Yeah, that's a little bit of what that screams as to me. The number 76 also trying to get their way up into that conversation as well. That's Stephen Clements, who was turned around at the beginning of the race. And now they've got to be careful. We talked a little bit about that side skirt being out there. That really forces that area of the track coming through turn 9. That's pretty much a one-lane highway now.
Yeah, we talked about this at Sebring, that the debris on course, you know, as a driver, you can't really decipher what that is. It might just be a piece of plastic or paper, but you don't want to find out when you run it over, right? It's certainly not going to be good for your car. So you try to avoid it the best you can, even if punting it wouldn't be the end of your day. You don't want to be the one to figure that out.
Yeah, you certainly don't. More side-by-side, though. That's Tommy McCarthy and Paul Bocuse. Bocuse gets a really good run on McCarthy, going to be able to make that move almost as they cross the yard of bricks. And here comes Jackson Bell up to the inside there in the number 6 of Will Rogers. They're leaning on each other coming through 3.
Yeah, that's a great battle here between Rogers and Bell. And here comes Aiden Yoder into the fight with the Segra GR86, the blue and white car, trailing this 2-car duo for 3rd place. Now Yoder's got an exceptional run. What does he do with it, though? You have to get single file for 5 and 6. A lot of mud and gravel on the windshield of the number 2. He's had someone off track ahead of him.
Yeah, he certainly has, and I think Yoder found his progress just a little bit blunted there. As here comes Jackson Bell taking that look down into the inside of Will Rogers. Later on the brakes is the Californian. He misses the apex a little bit, though. Going to run wide. Is he going to be able to hold on now for turn 8? Yes, he is.
That was a great pass. He fully committed and was able to complete it. And Yoder right up to the back of the number 6 now. That was also a good run, but what do you do now? This is where we've seen Gresham Wagner make passes, but Yoder tucks in behind. He'll wait for a better, clearer opportunity to pass.
I wonder if he's going to have a little bit of a look here coming down into turn 12. Oh, that's Lucas Weisenberg again, almost looking like he's facing the wrong way. That's going through 7 and 8.
It's been a tough day for Weisenberg. Got turned around on the restart, and now we'll see if there was some contact here. It was on the inside of Garcia, and just kind of got hooked and turned around to the right. And that was 2 cars that wanted to be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, it certainly is. I can tell you, though, that Jackson Bell is able to hold on to that position right now over Will Rogers as they cross over the yard of bricks right now. Rogers takes a little bit of a look to the inside, or what will be the inside of turn 1. Bell goes defensive. That could set up Rogers. Big jink down to the inside for Will Rogers as he tries to make the pass.
That was a huge move, and they're going to just scrape doors through turn number 1. Bell runs all the way to the edge of the road. Rogers tries to cling to the quarter panel as they sweep through turn number 2. What a move by Will Rogers, and now he's got the preferred line for turns 3 and 4.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. Oh, more contact there made as Bell's going to get forced out wide. That's going to allow for Piscatell.
Yoder
and
through the
for
middle.
Yoder, 3-way coming 3 wide, coming through. Here they go.
I can't believe they made that work. Yoder stuck it through the middle, and somehow they came out the other side, all pointed the same direction. That was phenomenal racecraft there by all 3 of those drivers to keep it pointed the right direction. Great move there by Yoder. He's up past Jackson Bell.
And who is that in the 4th car in that? Oh yeah, that's going to be the one and only Gresham Wagner, already involved in this conversation. So he is going to put himself in here and try to be able to gain on to what could be a podium after starting dead last in this field.
Well, if you needed more spice, Gresham Wagner will add it to your party, absolutely. Up through turn number 10 now and into 11. Wagner has been used this opportunity to get overlap on the cars ahead of him. Jackson Bell is the next on the chopping block, but Wagner looks like this time he'll stay in line into that 12th corner as Rogers tries to put some distance between himself and Aiden Yoder.
Well, what he wants, was a big move down to the inside there of turn 13 for Gresham Wagner. Somebody coming down into pit lane out of that. That's Piscatell. Not sure what that is. Oh, drive-through penalty for Justin Piscatell for incident responsibility. Now, that was for contact with him and the number 46 of Lucas Weisenberg. That was that contact that we saw off of the restart.
Yeah, that was the restart contact. The other one was with, I believe, Michael Garcia. So interesting. So Piscatell will hit pit lane now as Yoder on the brakes into turn 1. It's amazing how they accordion together on the binders here, leaning on that Bosch ABS to slow the car down from about 150 30 miles an hour to about 50 in the apex speed of that first corner. And Rogers is on defense for sure. He's got his eyes up in the mirror as they work their way through turn 4, and a hungry group of cars behind him. Wagner's really the catalyst here. He's going to push Yoder to have to make this pass, otherwise Yoder will lose a spot.
Exactly, so we're going to see how that plays out. By the way, the race control is taking a look at the incident between the 46 and the 30. That is that incident between Weisenberg and Garcia that you saw having Lucas Weisenberg spun out. Here comes Yoder trying to go around the outside, though, of Will Rogers down into turn 7. That's not going to play out. That is going to open up an opportunity here for Gresham Wagner to try to get a little bit of a run coming now down through turn 10. Wagner again able to carry that speed as much as possible. That is his section of the track. Signed, sealed, delivered. That's his.
Yeah, Yoder actually, I think, lifted to have to facilitate the 5 sliding ahead of him. That was really smart racing there and was pressuring the 5 even as they entered turn 11. Gresham got on the curbing, and it's still a bit damp out there. You saw the car wiggle as soon as it touched that painted curbing. That was a huge deal back at Circuit of the Americas when the track was fairly dry, but the curbing was not, and that led to some incidents as well. 28 minutes to go, and it's still very, very interesting for third place right now.
Yeah, still very interesting. By the way, Gonzalez and Kohlbecker are absolutely streaking away at the front of the field. The gap in between the two is 2 seconds here at this point, but this is the battle to keep our eyes on. Although it does look like Aiden Yoder's got a little bit of a better run here on Gresham Wagner coming down into turn 1. Does Yoder decide to poke his nose out? The Precision Racing LA driver going to stay in line. And here's the one thing to keep in mind here about this, Kyle. Rogers drives for Godwin Motorsports, Gresham Wagner obviously for Tech Sport. Yoder and Bell, both Precision Racing LA drivers. We could maybe see a little bit of teamwork coming in between the two.
Yeah, the 6 of Rogers had a bit of a moment through turn 4. Wagner widens out the exit, now tucks in behind for the run down Holman Way, but Aiden Yoder got a great run. He's going to give Wagner a shove here and maybe create the action himself by pushing Wagner forward. Here comes that 5 to the inside, the Tech Sport racing car, past the 6 Godwin Motorsports machine into turn 7, and Yoder will follow him through the open door.
And that's exactly what Aiden wanted to have happen there. And now look at this. Jackson Bell takes the opportunity on his teammate. Jackson chucking the car up into the inside, going into turn 8 and 9, and now he's going to have the preferred line for turn 10. A little bit close on the exit curving there, but great heads up from the Californian.
Yeah, both of them race each other very cleanly and very fairly as teammates. That was well done by both, but Bell now is the lead horse in that 2-car Precision LA racing team race as they now try to catch back up to the 6 as Jackson Bell runs a bit wide at the exit at 12, drops the tires in the grass, and he'll cling to the spot. Did a good job recovering from that.
Yeah, it looks like something's hanging off the back there of Jackson's car. I'm not sure if that's just a strap or something.
Could be a tow strap, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything big, but I'll tell you what, his teammate's not taking no for an answer. He's going to go side by side across the yard of bricks. It looks like Yoder's got a little bit more momentum as Bell's going to move down to the inside, I think getting out of the way a little bit, and now he's going to tuck up behind in the draft.
Yeah, all the while, Wagner is trying to separate himself from this 3-horse race for 4th place now. He doesn't want to contend with them any longer. He's made the pass. His focus is forward now, and I think Yoder and Bell are going to have to sort it out and get single file to work together to catch Will Rogers again before this race is over.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. As we do take a look there at Gonzalez and Kohlbecker, your leaders up at this race. Gonzalez has grown that gap by about 0.2 of a second. There's a visual representation on your screens of just how big of a gap that is back to Gresham Wagner. 9.4 seconds, the difference between teammates of Kohlbecker and Wagner.
Yeah, Gonzalez has just been an outstanding talent this season, and Spike Kohlbecker has been right with him. He's just had more unlucky rounds than Gonzalez had. And I always said earlier in the season that the way you have a good season is by eliminating your really bad days. If you can have a mediocre day, you can take those, but just don't have a lot of bad ones. In this championship, you don't get a do-over, you don't get a redo. You have to nail it the first time, and Gonzalez has done that more often than not, and that's why he's your champion already locked up coming into the weekend.
Yeah, and he has looked the class of the field. I mean, obviously that run last time in Sebring just absolutely demolishing the field. We hadn't seen anything like that in a very long time. But now, here is my question. We've seen the speed out of Gresham Wagner. We've seen how fast he's able to take that number 5 up through the field and gain 20-odd positions. What's going to happen here at this point? Is he going to be able to close in on Kohlbecker, or is Rogers and Yoder, are they going to be able to keep in behind them? This is the question, I think, for me in the final 25 minutes of this race.
I think Wagner might end up in a bit of a no man's land here because he's faster than the drivers behind him, but just a little off of Kohlbecker and Gonzalez, and doesn't have the slipstream to lean on anymore down these long straightaways. So he'll probably end up vying for a podium. I just don't know that he can run down Spike or Tyler with 25 minutes to go. It's a long time. Don't get me wrong there. We're still not even quite halfway done, but it's just a lot to do without the aid of the slipstream or without the volatility up front to create the situation where Wagner could run them down.
Very well could be right about that. And looking at that last lap time, Wagner was only able to take about 1/10 of a second out of Kohlbecker's lead over him. So that's not going to be enough to be able to run him down in the near future. But that battle for what is now P4 still looks very, very close as Rogers leads Yoder, leads Bell. And I think all three of them are relatively content to stay in line here at this point. They've got a pretty big gap, about 5 seconds back to Paul Bocuse and Jordan Segrini.
Yeah, I don't know. I think now with Wagner driving off in the distance, they might have already given that up. They might go back to fighting. The challenge they're going to have to worry about is the group behind them. Paul Bocuse, Jordan Segrini, Kanan O'Connell. That group isn't that far back. So if Rogers, Yoder, and Bell begin to scrap again, immediately it's going to go from a 3-horse race to a 6 or 7-horse race for 4th place.
Yeah, and that's exactly what these drivers behind them want to see have happen. They love seeing that battle with Gresham and Will and Aiden and Jackson. They wanted to see all of that battle continuing, because if you're running side by side, if you're battling for those positions, you're not taking your optimal racing line. You're not going as fast as you can around the circuit, and that's going to allow those drivers behind to catch back up to the pack.
Yeah, there's Corey Lewis in the number 8. Again, very illustrious career in GT racing, has stepped into the Toyota GR Cup North America Series for a weekend here at Indianapolis. Really neat to see him battling it out amongst everyone else. Wettingel and Jones continue to fight it. Then back to 4th place. Will Rogers still has his mirrors packed full of Precision Racing LA's duo of Aiden Yoder and Jackson Bell. Yoder in the 73, Bell in the number 2. And Rogers, we've seen this time and time again over the course of the season. He's got amazing pace in qualifying and single lap pace. Over the course of the run, though, he tends to be on that back foot on defense. He's very good at it, DJ, but it seems like he finds himself in this position where he's looking in the rear view rather than the windshield.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that just comes with time. You know, there's often this saying that you can teach a fast driver to be consistent, but you can't necessarily teach a consistent driver to be fast. So we clearly know that Will has that speed. We've got to remember, this is really a feeder series opening up the door for so many young guns, as we would call them. And I've got to think here for Will that it's just a matter of time until all of those pieces really lock in together. And I think this is a driver with a bright star on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's already, fairly well accomplished on the stock car side of things. He's won some races in some stock car series on road courses. And I think this is just a difference in the stuff that he normally drives. Typically, he's driving heavier, maybe V8 H-pattern machinery. This is a sequential 4-cylinder car. It's a really momentum-based car. And it's a different challenge for Will Rogers. I think that's why he's embraced this, is because he's going to learn a lot of things that will translate back to any other vehicle that you take on the racetrack anywhere in the world. So Rogers, pretty accomplished, but this is a new challenge for him, as it is for everyone else here in the inaugural season of Toyota GR Cup North America. But he goes defensive big time down the front straightaway as Yoder and Bell try to team up to get around him.
Yeah, and I wondered there if we were going to see a little bit of a bump draft from Jackson Bell coming down the front straightaway. We saw that strategy employed, but here comes the attack from Aiden Yoder, looking for the crossover coming down through turns 2 and 3. It's not going to play out, and Yoder's the one who has to be looking like a chameleon here at this point. One eye ahead, one eye behind. Big wiggle there from all of the cars, and that's going to set up a 2x2.
Oh, that was a huge slide for the 6. Managed to grab the steering, and he'll slot himself between the Precision Racing LA cars. Jackson Bell gets held up behind for a moment, but Yoder goes through. That turn 4 is so flat and so treacherous, especially in the early morning hours here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just not a lot of grip to be had, and if you lose it for a moment, you just have that 4-wheel lateral slide that's hard to recover from.
Whoa,
man, he's wild to watch.
Speaking about a 4-wheel lateral slide there from Will Rogers coming down through turn 7. A little bit of contact between himself and Jackson Bell. I don't think Will necessarily liked that pass there from Jackson, but I didn't see anything there that was out of the ordinary.
No, I just gave him a little shot to the rear bumper. Hello, how you doing, so to speak. But yeah, he's wheeling that thing right now, that's for sure. Great pictures also to see the hands in the cockpit at work trying to keep that GR86 pointed the right direction. One of the benefits of this car, whether it's the road car or the race car, is that it's exceptionally well balanced, a near 50-50 front to rear weight ratio. You can balance on that edge so delicately, and it's something that if you were able to do effectively, you're actually not going all that slow in a car like this. You can really ring it out and have a lot of fun in it as well.
Yeah, you certainly can, and you're not going to lose all that much time really chucking the car through the corners. I'm reminded back, unfortunately you weren't there with me, Kyle, but at Road America, watching these cars coming down through Canada Corner and just how much they were really able to send it sideways. Looks like that's a little bit of a slow run there for the number 31. Ooh, the 44 also off. That's Derek Jones right at pit entry.
Yeah, I wonder if those two things are related. Damage to the right front of the 44 as well. That tire is pointed the wrong direction, and they're very towed in. The left front and the right front doing different things, and that's not how the linkage is supposed to work on those cars, I'll tell you that. So hopefully he can find an escape route and get off course with about 20 minutes remaining here in this race. But I'll bet that they had it coming together. I didn't know if they were running very close together on the track, but they must have if they had it coming together of some kind. As Rogers tries to tee up another pass here on Jackson Bell with a big slide through 7 as he corrects it and carries on.
Yeah, not seeing anything there. Just updates from race control, by the way. That Lucas Weisenberg, Alex Garcia incident, no further action being taken on that. However, Garcia is under review for contact there with the number 24 Nitro Motorsports we've seen of Giovanni Ruggiero. And so that incident is now under review by race control.
Yeah, I agree with that. The 46 and 30, they just came together. I don't think anyone intended to do that. They'll shake hands about it after the race and move on with it. It's just part of racing. Sometimes you end up going for the same place and running into each other on occasion. But 18 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Tyler Gonzalez, Spike Kolbecker, Gresham Wagner lead the way. Wagner has made some inroads on the 2 leaders, but it's just not enough to get there. It's been about half a second or so since he got into 3rd place that he's made up on those front 2.
Yeah, it's just not enough to really write home about. It's really not enough for him to close on in, and I think your assessment of him sort of being in an island unto himself is certainly coming to pass here. More issues, or more incidents under review from race control. That's Austin Dodge and Derek Jones. I think you were right, Kyle. That is the car that we saw going a little bit slowly through the first sector of the track, as well as Derek Jones trying to get off to the outside.
Yeah, the puzzle pieces start to fit together once race control tells you those 2 cars were involved in an incident, and you can only suspect so much before everything starts falling into place. So we'll see how that finishes out, but unfortunately for Derek Jones, that looks like fairly terminal damage, at least for the day. So they'll have to head back to the paddock and get that reset for the rest of the races here this weekend.
Yeah, but good heads up from Jones, obviously, recognizing that the car was a little bit wounded. Oh, as Garcia is now off. That's on the exit there of turn 13. Not sure what happened to the number 30 Zotz Racing machine, but Garcia going to get the car woed back up and brought back out through turn 14 and onto the main straightaway.
And the left side of that car has got some flat spots in it, and I tell you, the GR86 is a pretty curvy car, so it doesn't look like that's supposed to be that way. And he's had a couple of run-ins today, not all of his own doing, but this is one of those races that you just like to get the checkered and move on to the next one, I think, for the 30 and for the 46 and a handful of others.
Yeah, I think you're right. One driver, though, who's going to want to continue on this form, Jackson Bell. Very, very good running here. Jackson into 5th place. Now, that's where he qualified in this race. That's where he's been up, he's been down, he's been going kind of all over here at this point, but very firmly in the battle here at this point. By the way, a message from race control that incident between Garcia and Ruggiero will be reviewed post-race.
Yeah, and that's often if they don't have a great camera shot of it, they'll just pull the onboard footage and they'll have a look at it and then make their determination from there. So in case they can't make an immediate call, that's how it will be done. I don't think, I guess it does look like a tow strap on the tail of that car. I was still trying to figure out what was dangling from the tailpipes of the number 2. And it looks like the 6 has one as well, just not quite as long. But it's 3 cars still locked in this fight for 4th place through turns 5 and 6 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a quick left-right chicane. It's full flat out by yourself. When you're side by side, though, as we've seen, you have to lift or someone has to decommit to make it through the corner without any trouble. Look at Jordan Segrini and Corey Lewis side by side for 8th.
Yeah, this was a good setup there by Corey coming out of that turn 6 complex. Going to be down to the inside, trying to feed out Segrini there a little bit. That is a veteran move there from the driver, the number 8.
I just have to giggle. If you see this every time we have these amazing side-by-side battles, the wing mirrors folding in. Corey Lewis just folded in his own mirror on Jordan Segrini's car, so he's not going to have as excellent vision out the right side. Looks like it unfolded itself. That's some clever engineering there to undo the damage, but looks like Corey Lewis is through and up into 8th place. He'll set his sights now on Paul Bocuse in the 71.
Yeah, he'll set his sights ahead here at this point and try to be able to see if he is able to claim onto a top 10. Ooh, Jackson Bell, though, going to be under pressure here from Will Rogers as the 5th place position seems to be under threat. This is going to be coming onto the main straightaway right now. Call it about a car length and a half in between the two. Does Rogers dare for a look down into turn 1?
A bit far back now, but if he can close in a touch more. He's made some very aggressive moves before, and this time into turn 1, he will not. Bell really late on the brakes. Saw the car wobbling, the ABS fighting for control of the car on the surface. Another chunk of debris, by the way, in the middle of turn 1 that I think is new. So we'll see if drivers can navigate around that with under 15 minutes to go.
More messages here from race control. Mia Lovell and Stephen Clements had an incident not too long ago. That is going to be reviewed by race control here at the moment. So more work for race control to do. They're certainly getting their money's worth here today.
Yeah, the first opening laps of this race were also pretty chaotic. A lot of self-spins, a lot of just side-to-side contact that wasn't very consequential, but I think there'll be a lot of drivers that will want some vengeance after this race as far as race control is concerned. But still the 3-horse race for 4th place. And a couple of corners now where you can't really run side by side, or else you're going to be forced to hit that debris at turn 8 and turn 1 in particular. So something to keep in mind as we have battles in the closing moments of this race. But Gonzalez and Kolbeck are still 2.6 between them, and then it's a further 8.9 back to Wagner from there. So Gresham, again, as I mentioned, kind of stuck in that no man's land, making laps, learning about how next races this weekend are going to go, and just creating that logbook and data book for later in the weekend.
Oh, bad news here for the number 68 of Mia Lovell. Drive-through penalty issued there for incident responsibility. Again, that was the incident that we mentioned a little bit ago with the number 76 of Stephen Clements. So Mia is going to have to serve a drive-through penalty here with about 13 minutes left to go in this race.
Yeah, that's a shame. She had such a great round at Sebring. I think recorded one of her first top 10 results in the series, and this one will be one to reset from later in the weekend. But the battle between the teammates for Precision Racing LA, this is heating up once again. Aiden Yoder and Jackson Bell, they've dispatched Will Rogers, and now Rogers is closing back in and hoping that he can get by both of them as they go to do battle with each other.
Well, this is the thing. This is what we talked about a little bit earlier when these roles were reversed, about these two teammates kind of working together, playing together a little bit to get themselves up in a position to be able to attack Will Rogers. Now I think with the shoe being on the other foot, they've got to also be in communication and say, hey, we want to battle, we want to do this the right way. Don't, issue team orders or anything like that, but kind of be heads up about this, that if they really start to duke it out here about this, it's going to give them a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those series where you just race and you just hope, again, as I said at Sebring, you're not going to do anything to help your teammate. You're just going to try not to do anything that will hurt them as far as racing goes. So you're going to cut them a break, but you're maybe not going to let them by. So as far as racing, I think they're going to do battle here. They just have to be smart about it, because if they battle each other too much, then they're both going to lose a spot to Will Rogers in that number 6. So absolutely go for it, race each other. That's what they're here to do. They signed up for a race. They're going to go racing. But don't let that number 6 by.
Exactly.
There's the caveat to that.
That's exactly what it is there. There is that very important caveat. Gresham Wagner working his way by the start-finish line right now, as it does look like the leaders may be coming into a little bit of traffic, so that could be a storyline. 11.5 minutes left to go in the race. Some of those slower cars that have had to serve those drive-through penalties, that have found themselves facing the wrong way, that could affect how the end of this race plays out.
Yeah, absolutely, and you hope traffic doesn't become a storyline, but it certainly could be, especially on a track that has narrow moments. Thinking of the chicanes or turn 1 or turn 12, you just have to make sure you don't get caught up in a mess that you don't need to get caught up in, especially if you're Tyler Gonzalez. You've got a 3-second lead. You've got a moment to be patient. You don't need to force anything to get it done, and Tyler knows that. He's an experienced driver, and he's obviously not in the biggest pressure situation of his life. He's got the championship locked up, but Kolbecker is in the rear view, so you have to do it quickly and with purpose, but not force it.
Yeah, oh, look at that. Jackson Bell very late on the binders coming down into turn 7 as he closes in on his teammate there, Aiden Yoder. Very, very ominous forebodings there for Jackson Bell. If he's that good on the binders, I would not be surprised if we see him chuck a big move down to the inside.
Yeah, leaving turn 10, the way that they approach that exit curve always makes me nervous, because if you get a little bit too far track left, you drop your tires into the grass and you're on power, and when you do that, you're going to loop the car, right? You've got way less grip on one side than the other, and Jackson was very close to dropping a tire there as he tried to find some advantage on Aiden Yoder leaving turn number 10. But now leaving 14 and back up onto the front straightaway, 10 minutes to go, and that means that your time is running out to reshuffle the deck here before the end of this in points awarding.
Yeah, and it looks like there that Bell lost a little bit of time coming down through that final sector. I think 10, 11, 13 just lost a little bit on his teammates, so he's going to be a little bit farther back to the tune here, about 0.4 of a second. Farther back in the field, though, it looks like we may have a little bit of a battle. Corey Lewis closing in here on Paul Bocuse.
Yeah, last time by ran his personal best lap of 140.5, and that was way quicker than most of the drivers ahead of him, about half a second quicker. So that Indava number 8 is on a mission, and it's to see how far he can climb in the final 10 minutes of this. In the background, just caught a glimpse of Jordan Segrini and Wettingel doing battle as well. But there that is. Wettingel, I think he's actually just gotten by Segrini. Segrini was scored 9th at the start-finish line. I don't think Jordan's done yet, though, on this long run down Holman Way. Look at Jackson Bell on Aiden Yoder for 4th place.
Later on the binders is Bell going to send that move down into the inside of the number 73. Easy as you please. That is move done and dusted for Jackson Bell as he covers off the defensive line coming through turn 8.
I love looking in the cockpit in that real tight camera shot and watching the hands at work behind the wheel of the 73. Even though he was under fire getting past, very smooth hands in the cockpit there. Just really fun to watch the different driving styles all come to play here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yoder is still hot on the heels of Jackson Bell into turn 12. We're going to get right up on that curb on the inside and then cross over. A lot of switchback sections here at Indy, especially when it's low grip like this. Tons of opportunities for mistakes as Bell runs wide.
And then we've seen him make that little bit of an error there multiple times coming down out of turn 13. The question is just how much momentum did that cause Jackson Bell to lose? Yoder's certainly going to try to take advantage of it here. Almost nothing between the cars. Now is Yoder going to try to give his teammate a little bit of a bump draft, try to keep Will Rogers at bay and poke out to the inside, or is he going to try to fight him here? It's all down to Aiden's decision. No, he's going to break early. He's going to stay in line.
I've just been so impressed by Yoder today with how smart he has been behind the wheel. He's not forcing anything that, okay, besides the one time that they went 3 wide through the chicane. Besides that one, he was really smart about where he put the car and really patient behind the wheel. And again, I think he's showing that here late in this race, that he had the opportunity to go right alongside his teammate again, but knowing how close Will Rogers is, he waited on it, and that might save at least one of the two of them.
Yeah, it certainly might, although it does look like Yoder's going to be under pressure here from Will Rogers as they come down to the corner, looking farther back down in the field here at the moment. That's Tommy McCarthy, Kanan O'Connell, and Lucas Weisenberg, who has really come back up through the field. There's a lot of speed in that 46.
Yeah, Preston Weisenberg, he's had 2 spins today and has recovered for a top 15 run and might have time to get up to a top 10 if he can dispatch O'Connell and McCarthy. He's got to find one more past that to have a top 10 spot, but very impressed with Weisenberg. Race winner back at VIR against Gresham Wagner. We know the pace is there, but maybe the luck has not been today or at Sebring in particular, but we know he's got the skill to do it. Tommy McCarthy, self-run team, the youngest team owner here in the paddock, and has just had an exceptional season, especially the latter half of it has been very good for that 23.
Yeah, we've really seen Tommy start to come alive here in the later parts of the season, and that's been very good to see. Bodes well for next year, hopefully, as now Weisenberg going to be able to take that look on McCarthy. Look to the left, now goes down to driver's right, sends it down to the inside, but McCarthy in the number 23 is going to be able to carry more speed there coming down through turn 12, and now we'll have the preferred line at turn 13, but that's not going to matter to Weisenberg, who tries to chuck it there up into the inside of 14. Now at this point, he's got the preferred line, momentum on the side of who?
And here comes O'Connell now with those drivers side by each through turn 12 and 13. It's going to open the door for O'Connell to sneak up into this mix and really make it a 3-horse race for place number 11 right now. Down the front stretch into turn 1, O'Connell goes by McCarthy. will stay in line with Weisenberg. Now looks up the inside, shallow line into one, and bails out. A little lockup there from the 23.
Yeah, a little lockup, and that's going to allow for Tommy McCarthy to try to fight back there a little bit. Not able to get the outside line going around Kanan O'Connell, but is able to swing the car to driver's left a little bit more, try to carry momentum as now they work through turn 5, and it certainly looks like the teeth on the front of that number 23 Tommy McCarthy racing machine are hungry.
Yeah, it's not something you want to see in your rearview mirror, but they've made it's got one gold tooth too. Did you notice that?
I saw that. Yeah, I caught
nice
that.
attention to detail on that livery. But down the back straightaway, Holman Way, looks like Weisenberg has dispatched those two and trying to put some distance on them in the closing moments. But they, again, when you get caught in these 3 or 4 car battles, no one can really run away. They're always kind of locked together. And now O'Connell plays defense on McCarthy.
O'Connell playing defense here at this point, trying to see if there's going to be able to do anything. Let's take a look back up at that battle for P4 at this point, as Jackson Bell's been able to grow a little bit of a gap here. Let's call that about 4 or 5 car lengths between himself and his teammate Aiden Yoder. But Will Rogers very close behind, and look at this, Kyle. Paul Bocuse, Corey Lewis, don't count them out of that. We're just under 5 minutes to go. There is a very real situation that we could see Bocuse and Lewis right up into this conversation for P4.
Corey Lewis is one of the fastest cars on the track besides the top 3 the last few times around, but Bocuse has responded to that pressure and was a hair quicker than Lewis last time by. Doesn't need to hold him off for long, but 4.5 minutes here is going to feel like an eternity for the 71, and maybe not long enough for the driver of the number 8. That's Corey Lewis right now. He could use another lap or 2 to set up a pass on Bocuse.
Yeah, he could really use that time, but unfortunately it's only 4 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in this Nashville makeup race, as Jackson Bell does get a little bit of a good launch here, moving the car over to driver's right to set up for turn 7. We've seen Bell be very late on the binders there, and I love watching these GR Cup cars under braking. You can just see the nose tilt forward, and it's just a perfect way to sort of see and understand vehicle dynamics.
I love having all the cameras set up here, but you could just put a camera at 7 and play it in slow-mo all day. Just watching the steering on the 73 through turn 7, just such a delicate slide, really exploring the limits of the GR86 car. It's just such an exceptional chassis, and watching these guys get to do battle with it on a racetrack is such a joy. And the balance that they're able to display and the racing that they're able to do with that balance is just so much fun to watch. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go, and while this battle is volatile, so is the one just behind it. Bocuse and Lewis still just a couple of tenths of a second apart.
Yeah, so this is going to be, I believe, about 2 laps to go here at the line for these drivers, and we talked a little bit about traffic. Alex Garcia just up the road from them, probably about 2-3 seconds up the road. So if over the course of these final 3 minutes of this race, that could enter into this equation for this battle for P4. What else could enter into the equation is an aggressive Aiden Yoder. I think he knows it's go time.
It is go time. It's been go time for a couple minutes now, but that number 30 is certainly going to play a factor in this. And maybe the baking soda and the ingredients here, they're going to get a rise out of this group as they work their way through. Going to be a lot of fun to watch. Don't look at me like that. As we watch on our way through 5 and 6 now, Jackson Bell and Yoder. They've played nice so far. 2 minutes to go, though, DJ. Are they going to play nice in the final couple laps?
Well, that's going to be the real question here at this point. It doesn't look like Yoder has any intention. Oh, but he brakes early coming down into turn 7. That may have been a little bit of exploratory run there for him, though. Just trying to feel out Jackson's line, see if he's able to get that attack.
Yeah, and it's just how late can you brake, right? How late can you brake without giving up something on exit? Yoder has one shot at this. If he makes a mistake or doesn't get it done, Rogers is there to pounce. So he's got to calculate this just right. I don't think he's going to get multiple opportunities to redo this. As the 57 sweeps under the front straight, no white flag. We're going to be 2 laps to go this time through, DJ.
Yeah, it's very close there in terms of time, off by about 10 seconds. What do we always say? Never trust a commentator's math, folks. Yes. That's why. But 2 laps to go here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I'll tell you what, Bocuse continues to close on in. That gap's about 15 car lengths in between the two, in between Bocuse and Rogers. There could still be a battle here for P6 before everything's said and done.
Could be. There is a battle going on right now. Give it 2 corners and we're going to be there. Bell swings left. Yoder follows. So does Will Rogers. And it looks like Garcia's going to have... Oh, that's not going to be ideal for Yoder around the outside through 1. Rogers will sneak up the inside of turn 2. So 3 of the cars have dispatched the lap traffic. I guess that wasn't as bad as it could have been. It was just a little awkward to go around the outside at one.
No, it's a little awkward, but you can really tell there that Alex Garcia was kind of doing everything that he could to just get out of the way. It's just unfortunate that everybody needed to brake at the same time, as now Bocuse is going to get held up a little bit by Garcia going through 5 and 6. Again, Garcia just not having the timing right his way, and that's going to slow down Bocuse just a little bit.
Yeah, the last thing he needs is any holdup with Corey Lewis behind him. Such an accomplished sports car driver jumping into this car for this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Corey Lewis in the drivers meeting basically was told, don't mess up the championship. He's just here to get a ride in the car and experience it. But as far as competing for or against drivers, his goal was to be very clean against them, and that was the expectation. That's what Corey's all about. But here we go, DJ.
White flag in the air from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. One more lap for Tyler Gonzalez and one more lap for this battle to absolutely fly off here for P4. Although it does look like Jackson Bell's been able to escape a little bit from this battle. That gap about 8 car lengths here, as it looks like it's going to be Yoder and Rogers, the chief protagonists for this fight.
No holding back, no waiting, no planning. It's go time. You've got 2.4 miles to get it done. Bell might be clear of any attack, but certainly Aiden Yoder is not. Rogers has a look into turn 1. He's not close enough just yet. He's late on the brakes into the first corner, and now Bocuse is here as well. Little push there through turn 1 for the 71 car.
Oh, a little bit of a squiggle for the 71 as well. I'm not sure if that's going to help him out here, but Rogers is in full attack mode as they come down through turn 3, now into turn 4. Rogers looking a little bit this way, looking a little bit that way, trying to sort things out here as now they make the run through 5 and 6. Does he have the run to make this into 7?
Yeah, Yoder got out of 4 very well. Got into 3 kind of strangely, had the right side tires in the grass, and that left him vulnerable. But unless Rogers can get overlap here, he's running out of chances. 12 might be his last goal, but really late on the brakes into 7. He closes the gap down to half a car length, and Bocuse is there as well. Corey Lewis is there as well. It's a 4-horse race for 5th place and half a lap to go.
They are going to keep trying to fight this out here at this point, trying to take a little bit of a wider line there through turn 10 is Will Rogers, just seeing if he can take full advantage of it, but that's not going to matter here to Tyler Gonzalez, who is up at the front of the field looking towards the flag stand and crosses the yard of bricks to take victory in the GR Cup North America.
8th win on the season for Gonzalez. Spike Kolbecker is in 2nd. Rogers not close enough to Aiden Yoder to make that pass. Bocuse might have one more shot if he can cross him over and beat him out in a drag race to the line. I just don't think he's got the juice to do it. Last corner coming to the stripe. Kolbecker was 2nd, Wagner was 3rd, Jackson Bell will be 4th, then it's Yoder, Rogers, and Bocuse, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Oh, and Bocuse, that was less than a car length in between the two. I think if we had maybe just another straightaway, Paul Bocuse would have been able to move his way up into 6th position. Also looks like there's a little bit of a battle here. Stephen Clemens a little bit farther back in the field on the number 24 of Ruggiero. This is coming down into turn 12.
Yeah, last couple of corners for Clemens and Ruggiero, and through turns 13 and 14 now. For a lot of drivers, this is going to be a one to forget as they move on to the rest of the weekend, but side by side for a moment. This is a battle for 16th, a wiggle out of the 24, trying to get the power down in this GR86 on the very slick surface here this morning, but Clemens will hang on for P16 right over Ruggiero in the number 24.
Yeah, he's going to hold on there at that point, still waiting for a few to finish at the moment. And it looks like Toni Breidinger, I believe, is going to be able to take her 2nd highest finishing female award of the year. So congratulations there to Toni for getting that. Toyota obviously giving a check and recognition to the highest finishing female in this series. And very, very excited to be able to give that to Toni for this race, as well as we are excited to be able to recognize your winner, your champion, Tyler Gonzalez. I don't know how many this makes on the trot here at this point, but it's a lot of wins.
Yeah, 8, I believe, with win 7 coming at Sebring last week. It feels like it's almost been more than that.
Yeah.
But I think we're not done yet. If I had to guess, we've got a couple more races here this weekend. Now, the big challenge for for Gonzalez now is that he's got Kolbecker and Wagner that'll be hot on his heels. Wagner in particular, his best lap was only about 2/10 off of Tyler's, and he had to start at the back of the field. So absolutely, Gonzalez is going to have some work to do if he wants to get to 10 wins on the season.
Well, and let's remember here what we talked about earlier. This qualifying order was set by the fact of, by the qualifying run in Nashville. So that's going to change things around a little bit when we talk about how these drivers are going to run over the course of this weekend with them qualifying in their own positions. But Kyle, we take a look there at the order running on down through. A great debut here for Corey Lewis. As we said, Jackson Bell, I believe that's Jackson's best finish, or ties his best finish on the year. Also some great comeback drives, drivers working their way back up through after some rough incidents, including Lucas Weisenberg.
Yeah, Weisenberg did a great job. I think he got looped twice in that race and was able to rebound to an 11th place result. Jordan Segrini did a nice job, so did Wettingel, and Corey Lewis again jumping in this fight. Looks like Austin Dodge, even though they had some contact with the 44, they were able to sneak a 15th place out of it as well. So nicely done. The start was a little rocky, but it was tough out there, TJ. We got it figured out.
As there we get a live look at your victor, Tyler Gonzalez, and we get a live look at the golf course here that, of course, exists within the walls of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tyler Gonzalez, though, everybody taking off their helmets, looking very, very happy. Spike Kohlbecker with, I think that's a new lid for him with that sticker design.
And a nice rebound also. Remember how Sebring was just a really tough event for him.
All right, we're going to throw it down to Amanda Busick, who has our victor. Amanda, how is it down there?
Well, since this is the makeup race, we won't go over to the Yard of Bricks just yet, but 8 wins on the season for Tyler Gonzalez, and you just think of how quickly that you took to this format. What do you credit with the skill that you've been able to showcase all season?
I mean, obviously I have a lot of experience in spec class racing, so that helps a lot, but really Copeland Motorsports, Gear Wrench, Toyota, we've just nailed this car down, and it shows. Like anytime we come on track, we're right up front, and this was pretty different. You know, we only ran one practice session, then we went right out to the race. It was honestly pretty fun, but like I said, just a real testament of how good we are right off the trailer.
There's racing, and then there's racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You got to see that checkered flag at such a historic venue. Did it get to you? Was it kind of a moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool. Honestly, I would have loved to get it done at Nashville at night. I was looking forward to that race a lot, but I'm glad we could get it done here. It's honestly great practice for the next 2 races we have coming up. So, yeah, super happy.
Thank you, Tyler. And I know you guys were talking about the announcer's curse, but there are 10 wins on the season for you. So we'll see what happens the rest of the weekend. Good luck.
All right, there he is, getting picked up by his crew members there. Clearly a very, very happy Copeland Motorsports team. And you've got to agree with him. I mean, just absolute dominance this season.
Yeah, it just hasn't even really been close, quite frankly. For a couple of the races, when it has been good or has been close, it has been exceptional to watch. As we take a look at some of the highlights from this race. It started off pretty wild, DJ. This 5-wide run down to turn 1. We knew it was going to get spicy, but a little bit of calamity in the opening sector.
A little bit of calamity in the opening sector. A couple of cars spun around there, but a good start off the bat for Tyler Gonzalez. There you can see Stephen Clements, the unfortunate car to get spun around. This would bring out, in conjunction with some of the other issues that we saw, our first safety car of the day. Mia Lovell getting her elbows out there early on. Mia, unfortunately, would have to serve a drive-through penalty later on in the race. Weisenberg and Garcia also coming together there. Garcia facing the wrong way. Weisenberg facing the wrong way, rather, as there they came. And then this was the battle that we were watching the entire time. Rogers, Jackson Bell, and Aiden Yoder. These three put on a great spectacle for
Look
us.
at this. 3 wide through the chicane at Indianapolis. You cannot do that. And it was just so fun to watch Yoder stick it up the middle. And those 3 race each other very respectfully for the duration of the event. Jackson Bell, Aiden Yoder, teammates, absolutely. Will Rogers, though, not a team car, but they all race each other with respect for the entirety of the event. That was a lot of fun to watch.
It was a lot of fun, and that's exactly the kind of thing we wanted to see there. Is there when you get the view of Tyler Gonzalez coming across the stripe, taking victory here yet again, adding another trophy into his cabinet on, at this point, what has to be a very, very impressive run. Well, Kyle, we've got 2 more races to do this weekend. We're very excited to be able to do it, and it's been a pleasure to bring you the racing action here today. So on behalf of Kyle Heyer, I am DJ Clark. Thank you for joining us here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.